What are some history facts that few people know? The Netherlands has a city or town named Turkey. The story behind it is that way back in the day Spain claimed to go to war with the Netherlands. The Netherlands, not being that powerful, asked the Ottoman Empire for their support. The Ottoman Empire gave the Netherlands one Ottoman flag and one soldier uniform and told them to have someone walk around in that with a flag near its shores for the Spaniards to see as they arrive, cause they told the Netherlands that they'd attack from sea. The Ottoman Empire also sent a message to the King or Duke of Spain, IDK, who the leader was and what he was called at the time, stating that the Netherlands is under their protection and so attacking them meant declaring war on the Ottoman Empire. As the fleet saw the soldier uniform and flag, and got word of the letter, they fled before a single shot even occurred. As a thanks, they named a city after the empire, and as the empire then became Turkey of today, they changed the name of the city too. Not many people know this, and I mention it as often as I can when a Dutch person badmouths the Ottomans. The Soviets trained dogs strapped with bombs to run under tanks in World War II. The Soviets mistakenly trained them on their own tanks, which run on diesel, whereas the German tanks ran on gasoline. When they field tested the dogs, they ran under their own tanks, and that ended that insane piece of history. Similarly, the American government tried tying incendiary bombs to bats and letting them loose after a few burned buildings. They had their first field test. Problem was, most of the bats hadn't woken up from hibernation yet, and they plummeted to the ground. There were no potatoes outside Peru and Bolivia until the 16th century. What happened? Did they flee a natural disaster? A plague? Was there a civil war? The Spanish introduced it to Europe after the Spanish conquest of Peru. Ah, so they were enslaved. Abraham Lincoln and Charles Darwin were born the exact same day. In around 1200 CE, the St. Louis metropolitan area was larger than London's. Mexico City is technically an artificial island. It was built by filling up a lake with dirt to create an island, and then making a city on top of that. The Spaniards then built a city on top of that city. This is why the earthquakes are so severe, because the soil is basically the slurpy stuff at the bottom of a lake. Vikings arrived in North America almost 300 years before the Maori arrived in New Zealand. Parts of Alaska were invaded by the Japanese during World War II. Snoop Dogg was the brother-in-law of one of the peanut butter jelly time guys. He tried to convince the guy not to kill himself. To no avail. It took me until halfway through the Mexico City comment to work out that you were stating unrelated facts one after the other and not telling a cohesive story. It's late. Forgive me. Harry Truman was the first U.S. president to have Secret Service protection after his presidency. He wasn't happy about it and had them do his yard work so they weren't just sitting around doing nothing. He was also known to sneak away and go to the bank, and by the time they realized he was gone, he was on his way back home. His financial problems after his time in office are also the reason why we have a pension program for presidents nowadays. He was the closest thing we had to an ordinary person in office. Not a millionaire before ending up in office. Refused to enrich himself after office by accept obscene speaking fees. Just wanted to retire quietly. In January 1945, near the waning days of the war, thousands of Germans tried fleeing the Eastern Front by boarding the *MV Wilhelm Gustloff*. It was sank by Soviet torpedoes shortly after voyage in the Baltic Sea. While the official death toll isn't known, it is estimated at nearly 9,000, with only about 900 survivors. This was, by far, the worst maritime disaster ever. It's seldom talked about because, well, they were Germans and we were at war with them. So very few cared. Plus, even the Nazi Germany media didn't really report on it either. Since as they were nearing the end of a war they were losing, the last thing they needed was another major hit in the morale. Ironically, My grandma's family wanted to board the Wilhelm Gustloff as well. They didn't get tickets though. They made it to Germany anyway somehow. My grandma was 8 back then. The whole family stayed in Eastern Germany until the mid-50s when my grandma moved to southwestern Germany and her 2 sisters stayed in Eastern Germany. They couldn't see each other even when my grandparents married in 1960. Then in 1989, one of the sons of my grandma's sisters risked his life by crossing the border to Western Germany. Greater than it is estimated at nearly 9,000. I believe it's over 9,000. All British tanks since 1945 have included equipment to make tea. A lot of people know that during the Crusades of Genghis Khan, he wiped out 10% of the world's population. What many don't know is that he and his army raped so many women and had so many babies that the 10% was actually restored. This is the reason that a decent percentage of East Asian people descended from Genghis Khan and his army. French fries are from Belgium, monsieur. Fortune cookies are from San Francisco. Danishes are from Austria. Salmon sushi is from Norway. Hitler thought the Holy Grail was near where I live. More planes were destroyed in WW2 than currently exist on Earth today. There are more planes in the sea than submarines in the sky. During the 1936 Olympics Games, Haiti and Liechtenstein both came in with the exact same flag, which was blue on top and red in bottom. Monsieur, up until now both countries weren't aware that they both had the same flag. So to stop confusion between the two countries, Liechtenstein added a crown to their flag while Haiti put a white square with their coat of arms inside. Martin Luther King and Anne Frank were born in the same year, and the Queen is older than the monsieur. Only one president has been able to get into the WWF Hall of Fame. It should stay that way. For one term, monsieur. Eleanor Roosevelt might have had a lesbian lover. Username checks out. Tolkien roasted the fuck out of Hitler and the Nazis after they sent him a letter asking if he was Aryan. Can that letter be read somewhere? I posted this on a different thread already, but I think this is super cool, so I want as many people to see it as possible. After the Battle of Shiloh in 1862, during the American Civil War, multiple wounded soldiers were left on the cold, muddy ground in Tennessee to await help. During the 2 nights they spent laying there, some of the men noticed a faint blue glow coming from their cuts. When help finally arrived, they found that the men who had glowing cuts were more likely to survive. The glow was named the Angel's Glow, but no more research was done into it. Until in 2017, when a history buff decided to go to where the Battle of Shiloh was held and take a few soil samples. Luckily his mom was a microbiologist who helped him examine the soil. They found these nematodes that are known for burying into insect larvae and vomiting chemicals that kill the host organism. And they discovered that a bioluminescent bacterium that glows faint blue lives inside the nematodes. So basically the nematodes were burying into organisms that were in the soldiers' wounds and vomiting these chemicals that killed a lot of the more deadly bacteria that had got into the soldiers' wounds, and some of that bacteria was bioluminescent, creating the glow those soldiers saw. Sorry this was so long. Hope you found it as interesting as I did. Thank you so much for watching and have a good day.